Hey guys, it's Luke from Cloud English, and in this video, I'm going to be teaching you 4 words from the news. In context, we're going to be talking about the Silicon Valley Bank collapse and the announcement of GPT-4. So be ready to learn and practice in context. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. All right, let's get into the video. The first story we're going to talk about is the recent collapse or crash of SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, which is connected to inflation, and now there have been actually a few other bank crashes as well. The first phrase we're going to look at is a red flag. Red flag, well, I know what a red flag is, but what does that mean? Let's look at it first in context and then talk about how we might use it. So from this story, critics point to many red flags surrounding the bank, including its rapid growth since the pandemic. So they're pointing to red flags. Well, then what are red flags here? I think we can think of them as warning signs. A warning sign is something that should tell you that there's something wrong and something could get worse in the future if you don't do something about it. So we can use this in our daily lives. If you know someone who's acting really strangely in social situations, and then later something crazy happens, you might think to yourself, yeah, I did see some red flags actually. Maybe I should have said something. So anytime you want to talk about something that you noticed early or you should have noticed early and you didn't say anything, or perhaps something you're noticing right now and you want to tell others, you can usually refer to it as a red flag. If you meet a really odd person, you might say, okay, there are definitely some red flags with him or her, or sometimes I'm getting some red flags. Okay, now we're going to look at, I think, another really interesting word here, and this is the word volatile. Now I'm saying volatile, but you will also hear this pronounced volatile. So if you say volatile or volatile, and sometimes volatile, I think all of those are okay. I pronounce it either volatile or volatile depending on how I feel. But how can we use this one? Let's look at it in context first. Okay, core prices, which exclude volatile food and energy costs and are seen as a better gauge of longer run inflation. Volatile food and energy costs. Okay, so that means there's something about the energy costs. Well, costs go up and down, right? And that's exactly how volatile is used. For things that go up and down, usually rapidly in an unpredictable way, we often use the word volatile. Maybe you have a friend or a colleague who has this temper. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes they're upset or annoyed, sometimes in a great mood. You might say, he's got a really volatile temper, or his moods are very volatile. That means it's kind of unpredictable. It goes up, it goes down. We can talk about a lot of things like that as being volatile or volatile. All right, now let's go on to our second story. We're going to be talking about the announcement from OpenAI about GPT-4. You may have seen my other videos about ChatGPT. I've made about 10 of those at this point. Check those out if you like. Everyone's been waiting for the latest model, and GPT-4 is it, and it's just been announced. So we're going to be looking at a few words related to the GPT-4 announcement, starting with milestone. So let's look at how this is used in context and then talk about how we can use it in everyday English. We've created GPT-4, the latest milestone in OpenAI's effort in scaling up deep learning. Scaling up is something that we're going to actually talk about next. But in this case, what is a milestone? Well, if this is an effort and they're sort of working towards something, then it sounds like milestone might be related to progress in some way. Is that right? Yes, that's exactly right. Can we use this for any sort of progress? Yeah, kind of. If you have these important events and you can talk about them, I reached this goal, right? I lost 20 pounds. So on my weight loss journey, that was a very important milestone. Your career, maybe. You could talk about a milestone there. Or maybe you're trying to get this huge certification and there are milestones along the way. These are sort of points where we can stop and say, hey, I achieved something on the way toward this maybe larger goal. So here, this is a milestone in OpenAI's effort in scaling up deep learning. So now maybe we can talk about scaling. How do we use scaling? Well, often we talk about scaling in the same way that we use growth, but it's not exactly the same because you can't say, for example, my hair is scaling. When we say scaling, we're talking about different levels, often orders of magnitude, and scaling is very often associated with huge projects, businesses especially, right? Sometimes governments. So let's look at it in context here. As we continue to focus on reliable scaling, we aim to hone our methodology. Reliable scaling. So reliable is sort of stable, you can count on it. What is scaling then? It's kind of growing. As it grows, maybe we learn more, we're honing it. That means improving it, sharpening it, focusing it over time. Anytime you hear scaling, often think of not just growth, but growth by levels. And you could use that personally to talk about some project that you're working on if it goes from a very small level to a much larger level. But typically, as I said, this is used for big government things and often used to talk about companies and companies as they grow from 100 employees to 1,000 employees to now serving hundreds of millions of customers and having 10,000 employees. That would be scaling your business. Okay, so hopefully you have a pretty good sense about these words. We've been learning them in context. The next thing for you to do is practice them. Can you use them? If you have any questions about these words or the context, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. That really helps out the channel. And if you want, you can get a free English course, Natural English Conversations. That is in the links in the description. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.